Here, men from the planet Earth, first set foot upon the moon.
I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed.
The road ahead will be long. Our climb will be steep. We may not get there in 1 year or even in one term. But America, I have never been more hopeful than I am tonight that we will get there.
I think the key to good storytelling is to find kernels of story that affect the listener or the viewer and reach into their lives so that they can identify with the story you're telling.
I think a good story is one that connects good ideas, cultural motifs, values or ethics emotionally to an audience.
We live our lives out in stories, and I think it's for that reason that we relate so much to a really good story. And so whether you're telling a story for the media or just telling a story about what happened to you earlier in the day, or even plotting out the course of your life by writing a story for yourself that you live out, I think that storytelling is one of the most fundamental ways that we understand our world.
As a viewer, as a reader, photojournalism puts you right on the front lines. Whether you're in a battlefield or you're at the site of the nearest disaster or you're even covering a hometown football game, it puts you on the front lines. You're not getting a better seat in the house than that photographer's lens for national events, for state events, for something happening right in your backyard. You're the first draft of history. The things that they're taking photographs of now that are running on the front pages eventually end up in textbooks. They eventually end up on someone's wall or in a museum or something because they're iconic of capturing that moment in time. They tell a specific story about a specific person or set of people that you just don't get anywhere else.
I did a documentary on Highway 40 in Indiana, which could be pretty boring. After all, it's a straight road through a flat state. So how interesting could that possibly be? But along the road, I found very interesting stories about 4 sisters who made pottery, or a poet who painted signs for a living and wrote poetry until he himself became famous, or a race car magnate who really made his money through baking powder. And if you find stories like that, you can take the boring or the mundane and make them interesting.
I think that there's all kinds of ways to communicate and change culture, and building buildings and running for office and all of that. I think in our culture, in the Western world, specifically the United States, the best way is to communicate through storytelling. And from that, more specifically, documentary filmmaking, fictional films, Hollywood, television shows.
I think one of the reasons why we still praise Martin Luther King Jr. like we do is because of the power of language and his power of storytelling, and the way that he could connect with an audience and make them understand racism and oppression, not by preaching at them, so to speak, but by telling a story that spoke to equality and fairness.
I think that if you can find things that are of interest to people, then you can change the world.